Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division preview show. Delighted to welcome Luke onto the show and JP. What's the crack, boys? Are you all right?
Everything's all right.
Good stuff. We'll start off with Luke's favourite team, Dundalk, as they travel to Bohemians at Dalymount Park on Friday. And it's an interesting fixture, Luke, because obviously Dundalk had what you would say an unsatisfactory start. Bohs had a very good start. There's going to be a massive home crowd, obviously, at Dalymount for this one, their first game of the season. Bohs might fancy their chances early doors in this one, I think.
Yeah, look, I think Bowles will be very pleased with the start they've had to the season. I think they'll be overall happy with the game. I think, look, they had some hairy moments towards the end of the game. You could probably say, Cork could have easily have got a point in the end, but in the end they didn't, and Bowles held out for a big 3 points, and the only team to have won over the course of that weekend as well, which was it's quite funny when you think about it, really. But
Just
look, they'll
about
be
as
pleased
well.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And look, they'll be pleased with the start they've had. They'll be really, really, fancying themselves going into one. The crowd will be there. You've seen the numbers that they're expecting, and the new stand and that opening, the new away stand and that. So it's a bit of a, there's a good feeling about Bowes at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Just after the result, last week, and then obviously, first home game of the season. It's always good to start off on the right track, and probably last season, they fell off a whole lot, and they'll be looking not to do that. But like, still, very early doors, and you can't really, like, we can talk about it, and but you can't really read into too many team starts. You know what I mean? And what sort of the first couple of games will have on their season and all that, because there's a lot of games to be played in this league, and still very early doors, and they won't be getting too ahead of themselves, but they'll be going out on Friday night and they'll want to win. You know what I mean? Because they'll know that Dundalk will be hurting over the fact that they probably didn't win that game against UCD. They were probably fully expected to get the 3 points at home to UCD. Dundalk didn't really drop many points last season in Oriel Park, and to have done it to a team who are being fancied as probably the team to go down, and I'm not convinced that UCD are will go down. You know what I mean? So look, very early doors and that the whole sort of start of things, but Bows will be really fancying themselves going into this one, definitely.
Yeah, JP Dundalk made a couple of signings the last few days, including one the last hour or so. What's his name? Raheem Tulloch has come in on loan from West Brom. We obviously don't know much about him, but they also brought in Waziri Williams as well. He's come into the club, another centre half, and another player came in as well. Actually, can't find him. He's gone. They brought in 3 players in the last few days. Basically, it's something they needed to do, JP, because I think Keno said it actually in the other show, like that their squad is very, very thin. But the question is, we don't know the quality of the players,
No, no, they haven't had a pre-season with the group either, like, so it's going to be like they're just going to be throwing in pretty much at the deep end and go and show us what you can do, really. And I thought that myself. I thought Dundalk's squad was pretty light
Yeah.
compared to the other teams around them. Derry, Pats, Rovers. Um, Probably a wee bit stronger than maybe the likes of Bows and Shelbourne, who you'd be and Sligo, who you would think it would be trying to push them for a top four spot. So they've probably what they've done is probably bulked out the squad in terms of numbers, but we won't really know for maybe a couple of weeks what they are like in terms of quality. Um, and we saw on Friday night that like UCD, no matter how many players they lose, whether it's the summer or the winter window, they just get on with it, and that's exactly what they've done. They found another goal scorer, in Chris Behan, who I think has scored quite a few goals for their Leinster Senior League team, and now he's coming to the League of Ireland Premier Division, and he's got off the mark with the first game of the season. So, but for Dundalk, they'll be disappointed having missed the penalty and taking the lead that they didn't go on and see out the game. But as we know, UCD caused Dundalk a lot of problems last year, but I think it was mainly at the UCD Bowl. For Bows, I'm delighted for to see Declan get off the winning start in the league, because I know the expectation levels down there at Bows is probably a wee bit higher than what they
You think they'll be
potentially could
better
be.
than last season, though, despite that?
It's early days, really. For Declan's point of view, if for Declan's sake, I hope they are really. I thought he bought well in attack. I just thought he could have maybe.
Mm.
I'm not quite sure what their defense is like.
You've been
But
listening to Daz too much.
yeah. But I'll get to see them in a few weeks' time when they play Derry. But they're it was a good start for them. They needed it. It was probably the ideal game for them, really.
Mm.
Um, they get off the good start against the newly promoted team in Cork.
Yeah.
As Luke touched on there, they were caused a few problems near the end, but I think they caused them themselves when
Yeah.
Talbot gave away that goal. Because I don't think Cork were
Even the
interested.
one JP cleared off the line. I mean, Talbot lets it spill, and Paddy Kirk doesn't get back.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, so they were causing the problems themselves, and unfortunately, I think if they could give them chances, Dundalk will punish them. So that's a that's the difference now from last week to this week. Is can they eradicate their mistakes, or can they take their game up another level? They maybe compete with Dundalk. But it was take nothing away from them last week. Like they went down to Turner's Cross, which has always been a difficult venue to go to for most teams, and they won by 2 goals to 1, and it's a sellout crowd at Daily Mount, and they'll be looking to capitalise on that.
Prediction, JP?
2-2.
Luke, prediction?
2-1 Bohs.
1-1 draw. Derry City take on Cork City, a long way up for Cork for this one. And, in the last number of hours or whatever, Michael Duffy, it seems to be out for the next couple of weeks anyway, JP. We know Dummigan is out, and I think McJanet is out as well. But the main one is Duffy. But I suppose Ollie O'Neill came in and did well against Pats, I thought, reasonably well.
Yeah, he did.
He was up against Sam Curtis as well, who had a really good game, as well. But you'd still fancy Derry in this game. You'd have to, wouldn't you? I mean, looking at Cork last week as well, it's a big challenge for them going to Derry, JP, isn't it?
Yeah, and Cork would have probably looked at that Bows game as a way of getting points on the board early on, having to go to Derry in the second game of the season. But look, we're not going to say pressure's on because it's the first couple of games of the season. We saw Drogheda last year. I think lost their first 4, and they comfortably stayed up. But Cork, say it's a long trip up. They're coming up against one of the title, one of the teams fancied for the title, and Derry, and as you say, like the last few hours, they've been hit with the blow that Michael Duff is going to miss the next few weeks. What few means in terms of numbers, we don't really know. We'll soon find out as the weeks go through.
I have a feeling it's a few weeks at least.
I would say probably you're talking maybe St. Patrick's Day at least, maybe if even that. But look, it's one we have to deal with. That's why if you're going for a title, that's why you have to have big squads, and that basically you brought in Ollie O'Neill and Matt Ward. And I thought Ollie done quite well. Thought he grew himself into the game. There was a couple of times early on where he was 1v1 with Sam Curtis, and I just thought maybe if that was Michael Duffy, Michael would have committed Sam early on, and they making a challenge or whatever. But look, I thought Ollie done really well. He played a great through ball for Graydon. He's had one cleared off the line by Joe Redmond after a mistake by the goalkeeper, and I liked what I saw from him, and hopefully now if he starts on Friday night against Cork, he can build on that performance. And look, Cork, they'll be coming to Brandywell on the back of that performance. Well, I don't know if they're going to go with the same goalkeeper, but I thought that was a pretty bad mistake for somebody to make on their debut, and I think it'd be quite harsh if he's taken out straight away, because I think
The problem is JP is on loan, and sometimes these players, they've conditions when they go in on loan. Like I actually thought Jimmy Corcoran was a good replacement as such for Harrington as well, so I was a little surprised they went there.
We saw that with Shelbourne last year when they brought was it the guy from Swansea.
Webb,
he made a few mistakes, and Duff decided, you know what, I'm going to put Brendan Clark in and goal, and that was the end of Webb. He was taken back in the summer. So, look, I think Derry have a very good squad. They can cope with injuries. The McJanet one, we've got Ben Doherty there.
Boyce can come back in and Cole can go left back, that kind of thing.
Dummigan in midfield with pretty good numbers in there. The Duffy one we can cope with, but you're hoping that he's back sooner rather than later, because for me, on his day, he's the best player in the league. Look, Derry will be disappointed that they conceded so late against Pat, but this is a game that they will be targeting for 3 points, especially considering who their opponents will be the following week.
Prediction, JP?
I'll go 2-0 Derry.
Yeah, look, it is very difficult, particularly when you look at the opening day of the season. I suppose display from Cork, to see Cork getting a result out of this game. I mean, for me, it's pretty much the same squad as last season. I know they brought in players. I'm not sure if those players are necessarily better than what they had. That's the point I'm trying to make, really. So maybe Tunde adds a bit to them there at times. Yeah. But it's a difficult one for Cork going up there, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough task. It's always a tough place to go to, and especially for a newly promoted team. And look, we know Cork are a big club and whatnot, but they're a newly promoted team. They've got a squad that is, I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about the players because I didn't watch enough of them last season.
It was a good squad in the first division, but I maintain that generally there's a big gap between the first division and Premier, and I don't think they've probably done enough in the off season to bring in 3 or 4, say, players that would bump up their quality, basically.
Yeah, like I think of when Drogheda got promoted, first of all, back in 2021. When they came up, and obviously they done well. They kept a hold of the main players of that squad that got them promoted, but they added the likes of Deeg and Daniel O'Reilly at the time with great signs. Dane Massey. So there's 3 or 4 players that really bump up your.
I think that Drogheda squad overall would be better than this current Cork squad at that time.
Yeah, but it's important. I think you have to build. You know what I mean? Like when you get promoted, it's important that you build, and you don't just settle with what you have. And I think Cork have the right things to attract sort of players that would have experience of playing in the league. And that, so I was surprised, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know a whole lot about the Cork squad. I can't really comment on what this Cork squad will be like. I'll get a fair idea in the next couple of weeks because I seen most. I rewatched most of the game against Bows, and I don't think you can get a lot from a first game of the season, but I don't really think they performed. I was expecting actually Cork to win the game. I predicted a Cork win. I thought just with the crowd and all that, you know what I mean, that you get that first sort of that bounce, you know what I mean, the whole thing of being back in the Premier Division, and they'd have a sold out crowd and everyone be there, and I just felt like it was going to be a good sort of story for Cork, but didn't turn out in the end. Some poor mistakes between at the back. I think the first goal, it was avoidable. Your man, Ali Couto as well, he cuts the ball across, but the centre half stood by himself. He stood by himself in the box.
He could pick a spot with his head, couldn't he?
Exactly, and that shouldn't happen. Not from a corner, you know what I mean. It shouldn't happen. And then obviously the second goal, the goalkeeper is really poor for it. So look, they nearly got back into it, and we would be, if the one where, the one that does the one go over the line, and then the other one when Talbot misses it and it's cleared off the line, we could be looking at a different result. We could be talking a bit more positively about Cork. But look, it's still early days, and they will take points off teams. I do think that, but it's a thing of is that squad gonna be good enough to be competitive in this league? It's hard to know. So we'll get a fair idea over the next couple of weeks. But I expect a Derry win here. To be honest, I expect Derry to put behind them the result from Pats, the 1-1 draw. And they'll look to bounce back from that and get 3 points and get on get that first win out of the way.
Yeah, I'm going to go a heavy Derry win. Actually, I think it could be 4-0 or something like that, to be honest. Drogheda and Shamrock Rovers at Weavers Park. I'm going to say United Park. You do know that, Luke. Plenty of times.
That's fine, yes. Fine by me. Fine by me.
Don't you? It's hard to get used to the new names at times. But this is an interesting fixture, obviously, because Shamrock Rovers conceded late, like Derry last week, to drop points. And Drogheda, I suppose, would have been generally happy with some of the misses Shelbourne had in that game to collect a point. But the Drogheda Shamrock Rovers games last season were all very, very tight. In fact, Drogheda won one of the matches, and Rovers have won cup matches in extra time and stuff like that, nicked 1-0 wins, or there's been draws. So they've actually been very tight, Luke. And from a Drogheda perspective, who I believe, and Keano, I think, said in the show last week, I believe the same thing. I think Drogheda's defence is actually stronger this year, personally. This isn't going to be an easy game for Shamrock Rovers, Luke, is it?
No, I don't think it will be. Like I just well, hopefully not. Anyways, I think um, look, last season obviously you're not going to look a whole lot into it, but it is a lot of the same sort of players there for Drogheda from last season, so they'll have the fair idea of what sort of games we gave Rovers in at home. Anyways, I think even when we went away, we obviously got the 1-0 drawn and they bet us. They
I think
did
so,
beat
Luke,
us.
just cut across you slightly there. The home form of Drogheda was critical last year as well, so they'll be looking to keep that up this season, if they can.
And yeah, exactly. And look, even I was, surprised by the amount of away fans that were travelled to Tolka the other night. I was very surprised by it. You were sort of blown away by it because there was just so many, and it was great to see, that the interest is there, and the people are coming out and getting behind them, because I think the fans are going to be a big need this year because, we are up against it, as we all know. But these sort of the games last season that we got points, and they were important points. You know what I mean? Not just for on the table, but even for confidence in the squad that that they were believing that we can take points against these big teams, and we can go toe to toe with the teams that are
Luke, as well,
coming to United Park.
there because something just came into my head. How are the new signings that obviously you've seen so far? You've seen, I've seen one or two of them as well, but you've seen them more than me and JP have seen them. Who are the ones that are kind of impressing you so far and you really like?
Connor Keeley has to be probably the number one. He's been fantastic. Like I still can't believe we actually got him in the door, to be honest. Such a good signing. The game against Chelsea, he was absolutely brilliant, like just brilliant. And then even in the other games I've seen him so far, he's just been brilliant. So yeah, very, very good. He's very composed. I think he's very strong, very demanding, and that's the sort of defender you need in this sort of.
Also a threat from set pieces. He likes to score a couple of goals as well.
He is. Well, he's 6'6", so yeah, you'd hope so. Like he's a monster, so he is. He's brilliant. No, he's brilliant. So look, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, and hopefully he can stay injury free for the whole season, and he'll be a big, big player for us. And I'm quite interested to see what the two Lincoln lads are going to be like. I think Freddie done really well, I thought, against Shells the other day. I think he should have scored, to be honest. I think he'd be disappointed. He definitely should have scored, but he was causing Luke Byrne and Paddy Barrett a lot of problems. He was getting in and around, and he was holding the ball up well. He was linking the two wingers in. I don't think the wingers were great in the game against Shells, but over time we know Dale Rimmy, he's a good player, and Foley is a good player as well. So like these lads will get their form in that. So I think if you give Draper time in that up front, I think he'll be a really, really big player for Drogheda this season. Whether it's the half the season or the full season remains to be seen, of course. But and even as well, the right back as well, Alicia, looks quite good as well. So look, they'd be the sort of ones I'd point out early doors that look good. But look, hopefully all the new signings will be able to play a big part, because it's going to be another tough season for Drogheda, of course. But even the likes of Ben Curtis as well, I think he's done well since he's come in. I think he had that sort of mistake against Shells. Maybe Matty Smith let him off at one, but I thought apart from that he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I thought him and Keeley seemed like they built a bit of a good partnership early doors, which is good to see as well. So I think that's important. So we'll see how that goes. And then obviously we've still got the Evan Weir and that there. So it's Drogheda fans can be optimistic that they can can stay up, of course, because I don't think we've. So I'm interested to see how we can do over the next couple of weeks. We've got some tough games coming up, of course. So this one now on Friday night will be big to see where the crowd and that coming in and that, and I think that they'll play a big part in this sort of game, because hopefully they can. We had a good record at home against Rovers last season. The only time we lost to them was in the cup. We didn't lose to them in the league at home. So I'll be hopeful that maybe we can get results, but it's going to be very tough, of course. Rovers, they're coming off the back of a draw that they'll be disappointed. Maybe not even to be disappointed about. I think because Sligo were sniffing away, you know what I mean, and obviously they were down to 10 men, Shamrock Rovers. So they'll be hoping that they can come to United Park or Weavers Park and get 3 points and get on that winning track. But look, hopefully Drogheda will put up a good fight against them, anyways.
Prediction.
I'll go 2-1 Rovers. I find it hard to see by Rovers.
Fair enough. JP, I mean, it was funny because last week when Derry led in the late goal against Pats, I was thinking to myself at that time that that's something Rovers wouldn't do. And of course, Shamrock Rovers went on to do the same thing against Sligo. And obviously Pico Lopez was sent off in that game. But even so, Sligo played well. But from a Shamrock Rovers point of view, second game obviously away from home as well, and their bench still, you're looking at their bench and you're going Kenny and Burt, and I can't remember who else was on the bench, and you know, they want to target this obviously to get their first 3 points this season. They tend to start slowly anyway, but how are you seeing them? Pico Lopez will be unavailable as well, obviously.
Yeah, and as we saw last year when he was unavailable for a few months, they started the faltering. They were not the same team defensively. And it'd be an interesting one. I'm not sure if it's a 1-game ban they got or what, but it'll be interesting because this is a difficult venue, as Luke touched upon there. Drogheda didn't lose the Rovers at home last year, only after extra time in the cup, so they have made it difficult for the likes of Rovers, and they made it difficult for Derry and Dundalk as well all last year.
Everyone bar Pats, isn't that right, Luke?
Yeah, that's it. Stop, don't get me started.
So yeah, for Rovers again, they'll be looking at this as a fixture that they'll want to get up and running. Obviously, their first game next week against Derry, first game at home. So they want to get up and running before that, and I just think Rovers are strong throughout the park. I think the only place that you could look at it, they have a bit of a weakness is their backup goalkeeper. We saw it in the President's Cup. The mistake they made. I don't think Alan Manis makes that mistake. I think the only problem for Rovers is Manis is in his 40s. I know
mind you, he looked sharp against Sligo, didn't he?
He does, and like that was my next point is goalkeepers can play for as long as they want, really, as long as they feel sharp and stuff like that. And last year, the games I saw Alan Manis, I thought he was excellent for Rovers, and I think he was the missing link for the Shamrock Rovers team, because I thought that they were a good side, but they just needed a good solid goalkeeper, and they brought him in, and they haven't looked back since they've won the cup. They've won 3 in a row, and they've got an excellent squad. Like, I know they lost a few, but the players that they've brought in are just as equally as good, if not better.
Have you seen this one prediction, JP?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 Rovers as well. Can't see them not winning this game.
Tight. I can see them. Yeah, 1-0. I think it'll be 1-0 Shamrock Rovers. St. Patrick's Day at Shelbourne, big Dublin derby at Richmond Park on Friday, and obviously Pats had, I would say, a decent start against Derry, to be fair, to get a point, and the way they got the point. Shelbourne will feel they played reasonably well, I think, against Luke there as well. They created chances, like they did create a lot of good chances. You don't put them away, but you know, the way Pat sometimes play at the back, they can play risky at the back. Shelbourne could get at them as well. So it's an interesting one, Luke. How have you seen this one?
Very interesting one, definitely. Look, Pats will be pleased with the point in the end. I think Derry will obviously have been the team that will probably be more disappointed out of the two, to be honest. But look, Pats will be pleased with they got that point, and it was a late sort of equaliser as well. So that's another pleasing thing, you know, that this Pats team, that they won't give up possibly, and you know, that can, you know, give them confidence going into this one. I fancy Pats for this game. I think Shells, they didn't play bad against Drogheda. I don't think they played bad. I thought they created chances. They probably definitely had the better chances in the game. I think first half against Drogheda, first sort of 30 minutes, I thought Drogheda were the better team. You know, apart from the Matty Smith, obviously Matty Smith, that's a big chance. You know what I mean? He has to put that away. You just expect a player of his caliber to put it away, but look, it happens to the best players, and you know, it can happen. So it's. I'm sure he's been thinking about that one all week. I've no doubt he definitely has been thinking about that one all week.
Of course he will again.
I reckon if he gets that sort of opportunity again, he won't miss it. You know, so that's the whole thing. He'll be thinking about that one all week, and I'm sure he's sharpening up on his finishing skills and training during the week. And not that he needs to. He's a good finisher. You know,
that's just one of those things. He gets too comfortable. He's off balance. He takes his eye off the ball, and he realizes as soon as he hits it, he's messed up. It happens.
It does happen. No, it does. It happens to the best players in the world. But look, you know, so they'll be probably disappointed that they didn't get the win in the end. But not in the second half. Like, people are saying, "Oh, Drogheda hung on," but they didn't really. I don't think, because I thought, you know, Shell didn't really create a whole lot in the second half. You know, there wasn't.
No, most of their best opportunities in the highlight package seemed to be in the first half, to be honest. So.
They came after a few minutes as well. You know what I mean? So they I don't really think in the second half Shell's done a whole lot. Like, so they sort of
I
took the
think it'd
foot
be
off the
interesting,
gas
Luke, to
and.
see how Duff sets up, because Duff has mentioned before how he'd like to play a bit more attacking this season. This is the first test of that, I think, going to Richmond Park against Pats. Will they actually do that, or will he sit back and look to hitting the counter attack?
Oh, I can't see him going. Well, look,
I think he'll look to sit back and hitting the counter attack. To be honest with you,
yeah, I think he will. I think he will. I think he's got the players that he can he can do kind of both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Their energy, they've a lot of energy, especially in the middle of the park. They do have a lot of energy. You know, between Malloy and Lunny, like they're very strong in that sort of area of the pitch. Like they've a lot of energy. Like I seen that at about, I think it was around the 75th minute mark, 80 minute
But have they
mark.
got the
Maybe I
quality
saw
that
that.
Pats have in the middle of the park, Luke? I'm not so sure. Like,
No, probably. Look, they probably don't. But it's an interesting one. It's a good battle. I think it'll be a good battle in the middle of the park, and I think that's where the game will be won.
yeah.
And you know, I do fancy Pats for this game though. I think it'll be a good game, to be honest. And I've seen it sold out already, so that'll definitely be a good atmosphere as usual down there. So look, definitely, I expect the Pats win, but I think Shells will put it up to them. They will definitely put it up to them.
JP, how you seen this one? Obviously, Pat's second home game in a row, so they'll be looking to get the 3 points from this. Like, you know what I mean? Big time in that sense, you know?
Yeah, they'll take a lot of confidence from their second half performance against Derry. Thought Derry could have been out of sight by half time last week, but Pat's done well. Hung in there, came out in the second half, the far better team. Thought Tim Clancy's substitutions turned the game.
Is that something you see with Pats this year, maybe, JP? I know they've lost O'Reilly and Cotter, they failed to game, but is their squad slightly stronger in terms of players that can make an impact from the bench, maybe?
I think so. I absolutely like Mo Rennie. That he was
Although
direct.
I think he'll be a starter mainly, generally, but yeah.
Surprised he was on the bench,
yeah.
He was direct. He had a go at Derry. Now I know. I don't think he got a lot of joy out of Kieran Cole when he came off the bench. I think that they put him on the right hand side. I think he ended up over on the left hand side then up against Ronan Boyce, and I thought he got a bit more joy down that side. And Pats finished the game quite strongly, and I think if the game had went on for another couple of minutes, they quite possibly could have got the winning goal in that game. Another home game for them. Don't know how they've managed that one. The home games to start with, but look, you'll play. Everybody will play the same number of home games, so it doesn't matter when you play them, really.
I think the problem, by the way, now they're going to have a game away on Friday and a game on the Monday, so kind of
yeah. So when I look at Shelbourne and the signings they made, I'm looking at it and thinking, has the signings they made, has it made them any better than last year? And I'm not convinced they have, Keith, to be honest. I know they've brought Guy Wilson from Bowes and Connor Cairns. They've signed
Matty Smith coming in permanently, is it?
Permanently, yeah. So it'd be an interesting one for Shells, but I can't see them getting anything out of this game. I think Pats will take a lot of confidence. They will build on that, and I can see them winning this one 2 or 3-0.
Pats win for me, but I think it'd be tighter than JP thinks. UCD and Sligo, this actually could be a very entertaining match. The way Sligo performed against Shamrock Rovers would be interesting to see. See, this is Sligo's problem, as we all know. They perform in a game like that against Shamrock Rovers. Can they go to UCD now and put on a similar performance? And last year and the last couple of years, that's not the case with Sligo. UCD will take a lot of confidence, Luke, from that point and the way they played against Dundalk. This could be an entertaining one, I think.
Yeah, look, UCD weren't easy to play against in the UCD Bowl last season. I think that was another thing that we got it from them. You know, there was obviously they were getting beaten. Maybe they weren't really getting. Teams weren't really coming to the UCD Bowl and sort of hocking them out of it. You know what I mean? I think if teams were coming, they were doing it late, or they were, you know, having to grind out 1-0 wins and holding on, sort of thing. So they would have been happy with that. But I think they'll be pleased that they got a point early doors, UCD. You know, especially away to Dundalk, such a tough place to go to. So they'll be given that gives them confidence. You know, that they can go on and they can get even 3 points here, or even another point, which I'm sure they take again. So. Sligo will be coming, you know, they've got the confidence as well. So yeah, this one definitely has one to be entertaining, because obviously Sligo came back from 1-0 down against Shamrock Rovers, which is never an easy thing to do against the champions, and to come back, I don't think many teams can do that. So they'll be pleased with that. They'll gather confidence from that. So I'll be really interested with this one. I think this one could go either way, but leaning just towards the Sligo win. Just I think maybe 1-0.
JP, how are you seeing this one?
Interesting, really. Because Sligo were one of the teams that UCD caused problems for last year. I think Sligo might have beat them near the end of the season, but I think
Pretty sure UCD got more points from Sligo though than the other way around though.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
yeah, I think didn't they draw twice and beat them as well?
I
So
think so, maybe. Yeah,
um,
yeah. Or level even,
so
at least.
they caused Sligo a lot of problems last year. They really did, and um, I don't see this being any different. I think the way UCD see it, and it'll be similar to how they saw it last year. Is they're going into every game and everybody's expecting to get beat, and whatever happens, whatever they get out of every game is a bonus. From the outsiders looking in, but for them, they'll be going into every game obviously looking to win the game. Um, and I think this is something that UCD could. This is a game UCD could get something out of really. I know Sligo played well against Shamrock Rovers, but as you touched upon it as well, it's always been that kind of game. Can they then take it on the next game to play? We saw it in Europe last year. They beat Motherwell, and then they went out to some. Then they got knocked out of the cup by Wexford. So
We're actually beating at home to UCD, weren't they? In one of the games, after
Yeah.
putting in a good performance in
yeah,
Europe or something as well. I think. I'm
yeah,
pretty
I think
sure.
so. Yeah, I think they were. And the other home game, they needed a little leveler against UCD. So UCD will cause them problems as well. UCD can take the chances that come their way because that's what they're going to need to do. Like say UCD, you're probably going to have to take. They're going to get minimal chances in games, and they're going to have to take the chances that they do get. Where other teams might create a pile of chances and might only need to take one. But UCD will go into this game with confidence because from listening to Andy Myler, he was disappointed that they didn't end up winning the game against Dundalk. So I think he's been. There's a lot made of the players that they've lost, but I think their key asset is a man in the dugout. And as long as he's there, I think UCD will have confidence that they can get results and against teams. And you know what? I just wouldn't put it past them getting a result in this game. But I think Sligo might just build on that performance. And I'm going to say 1-0 Sligo.
I'm not as convinced of Sligo as you are yet, but so we'll see what happens. I'm going to go for a draw on this one. I think it might be 1-1. I think it'll be an entertaining game regardless of what happens. Lads, we'll leave it there. Thanks for coming on. Guys at home, let us know your predictions. Subscribe to the channel, hit your bell notification button. Thanks for watching again. Brilliant.
Thank you.
That was good, guys. Excellent stuff.